Hi, I'm Robert Osborne, and welcome. Good to have you here. From now until December 9th on Monday nights in prime time, TCM is premiering chapters in the 15-part documentary series created by film historian Mark Cousins called The Story of Film and Odyssey. And quite an odyssey it is. Since September 2nd, we've been seeing Mark Cousins' view of the early days of movie making, both in Hollywood and around the world. And tonight, sound enters the picture, literally. And joining me again tonight, as he has been and will be every Monday, to introduce each episode of the series is the man who made it, Mark Cousins. Welcome again, Mark.
Thank you, Robert.
Good to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Now, we've been through the apex of silent filmmaking. Now sound enters the picture. So movie making, kind of at least from Hollywood standpoint, started from the beginning again. How did that affect everybody worldwide?
It's like the film became imprisoned for a while. Film at the end of the 20s had been so liberated, the camera could swoop and move, and then suddenly it had to sit beside the microphone.
Right.
And that was a real grounding for cinema. But also, sound brought so many new things to the movies that in those days people began to understand quite quickly. So, for example, that social sense. If we looked at John Gilbert or Greta Garbo, we didn't know where they came from in the world, but suddenly we heard accents. And you could, when you looked at movie stars, you got more sense of the reality of their lives, which was interesting. But also more exciting than that, people realized that sound wasn't only realistic. It could be poetic, it could be expressive. And so you could use sound to make drama, to add to a sense of the magic of a moment. You could use sound to undercut the image, all sorts of new things. This was being done particularly in France, but in North America by the great Ruben Mamoulian, etc. So sound, like any tool, quickly became expressive. And the big question is, how do we use it creatively?
So you go into in the series now about what happened worldwide with all of that, not just in Hollywood.
Yes.
Was that a big deal? I assume it was, from what I know of it, that now they also had to adjust to different voices, you know, in other countries. It wasn't as universal as it had been.
No. When sound came along, film stopped becoming such a universal language. This was a real problem for the business model. You couldn't make a film in Hollywood and then export it around the world because people wouldn't understand what they were saying. So people had to make more visual films, or famously they would make the same film twice or three times with an English-speaking actor,
right,
and a German and a Russian, etc. But that became a bit mechanical and clunky, so it created all sorts of new challenges. But it meant what was really good is if you were sitting in Germany, if you were sitting in Tokyo, Japan, you had the chance really to make films about your societies, your countries, your people, your concerns for the first time properly, because you weren't importing so much Hollywood stuff. So this new era of sound allowed more indigenous local filmmakers to get a go and get a foot on the rung of the filmmaking ladder, which was great. So it stimulated production around the world.
So we also have color entering the picture during this era.
Color.
And we also have a war entering the picture.
Absolutely.
You know, and changing a lot of things, also bringing a lot of people to Hollywood from Europe that weren't there before.
Absolutely.
So let's have a look. Very exciting. Here it is, and its U.S. television debut, Chapter 4, in the Story of Film and Odyssey, subtitled The 1930s, the Great American Movie Genres, and the Brilliance of European Film.